Who comes to visit my humble haven? One of the Dark Walkers. You are always welcome here, kindred. Do you come for more insight? Or merely a reprieve from civilization? I am still reeling from the night's events. I've lost so much vitae, empowering my unliving system that I've had to drastically feed to keep myself active and functioning. But I am satiated now. There is a rich amount flowing sluggishly through my body. When so much blood enters our system, all at once we get this surge of created vitae. I guess you could say it's our equivalent of adrenaline, only much, much stronger. The blood is like a balm, dispelling my agony, leaving in its place vigor and bliss. And it's during this time that I feel closest to what we truly are. Sometimes I feel like I am slipping, or like when I awakened from that terrible frenzy in that cave surrounded by gore and the gleaming eyes of coyotes, my fellow predators. You know what it is like, prowler of the night, that rhythmic, calming, thumping heartbeat, veins pulsating with gushes of warm blood that bring a brief end to our pain. Only in the aftermath do I find the presence of mind to revile what I have done. I know if this continues, if I don't do something about it, this one day I will not come back. I will not come back out of it. When that human side is completely pushed aside by the beast, we enter the last frenzy, the final frenzy, the permanent one that we never wake up from, as you give in to the red surrender, lost to the beast forever. They are known as whites, Draugir, Vrykolakas. But what happens to us when this happens? What becomes of what we are? Our mind is defeated, taken over, given up. It is simply gone. The mind dies. Terrifying concept. Tell me, kindred, have you seen an actual frenzy? No, I don't mean your own blackouts when you wake up to all the horrific things that you've done. I do not mean the rage, the red blind fear. I do not mean that red mist of anger. I mean when the beast completely takes over your body. Scarcely believe what you are seeing. It doesn't move like a human. It's more like a meat puppet. It's all instinct and bloodlust. These claws that, for example, appeared on my hand, at first it was arduous, debilitating. I even managed to cut my own face with them. But you adapt, like you do to the beast. I'm now very dexterous. Some of the more bestial members I have met as I was trekking here on the wide plateaus, I came across a small farmhouse I a pioneer shack. The corpses that I saw inside are bloated, full of some sort of... It smelled sharp and toxic. Puncture wounds in the necks. 2 neat little wounds that were oozing this sort of substance, that sharpness, that deadly toxin I could smell. And from behind me, 3 individuals started to approach the house. At first I thought, oh god, it's more country bumpkins, some hillbillies intent on lynching me. But no, they were of our kind. And as they approached, they were wearing the usual vagabond kind of pioneer get-up. But when I saw them, they had elongated fangs that were obviously what they were using to inject the venom. Scales, patches of scales on their skin, glowing eyes, slitted irises. I believe they could have been of my clan, or of course they could have been Setites. Who can tell the difference? But I believe they must have been of my clan, for they were wearing none of the usual trappings and religious garb that the followers of Set, the Setites, would have wore. I suppose these snake adaptations would have fed them very well surviving in the deserts and plains. These arid areas they have adapted as they have seen fit. I see the more bestial members of my clan, and I feel reassured that I have kept my morality at heart. But I also feel inadequate, as if I have not adapted enough to this changing environment. I still have a face that can more or less pass for human without scaring the living daylights out of the mortals. I know eventually this will not be the case, so I should savour it while it lasts. Interesting, the origin of the word Vrykolakas. It is a Greek word, I believe. The Macedonians used a similar word, Varkodlak, and the Serbians, Volkodlak. Volkodlak, very similar to Volkod used now, a term for our bloodline that I heard in a derogatory sense in London by Night, that is slowly going out of popular use in the end of the 19th century. Still, it shows that all the higher clans believe that we are doomed to a state of bestial existence, that we will all become whites. But that's what we Gangrel have to look forward to, isn't it? Unlike the Nosferatu, that have fully disfigured and distorted upon rebirth, we know we will slowly but surely manifest more and more beast marks as we become complete abominations, as our bodies slowly adapt to the viciousness of undead existence. What do the other clans know of dealing with a fully rampaging primal beast within? Well, perhaps the Bruja do. In some ways, they have it worse than us. Not fueled by primal sensation, but by anger and passion. But even they are not changed physically by it. the other kindred clan elders, ones that have lost most of their humanity, there is a hollowness to them, the weight of the ages. I felt the need to commune with you, kindred, as over the course of the last few nights, some astonishing things have happened. Last night was Koyeraime, among the Morche people, festival of the moon, and they offered an invitation to the white spirit that watches over them from the caves. If they know what I really was, I'm not sure they would have been as hospitable. But then again, if you look at the legends of the White Spirit and the Wendigo, maybe they know more than I think. I'm sure tribes like these, isolated and naive, were exploited by the kindred of the past. But I'll not stay here and play God. They have been trying to incite me to join their fight. Why these tribes and nations need to butcher one another for a piece of land, as beautiful as these lands may be. What could I tell them of how to live with themselves after all that fighting? After they get lost in the moment and kill someone who doesn't deserve to die? Maybe there is no place for mercy in my world of darkness. But even if it tramples me into the dust, or burns me to ash, I will never accept it or condone it. I don't care who they say they are, we all deserve a chance to exist, be free. We all are in the same boat in this world of darkness. Truth and wisdom are a bitter drink to swallow, and last night I drank deeper of its cup. I went through a bizarre initiation rite, mostly blood and weapon binding rituals. I only roughly understood the incantations, chanted words like rust soul, afterlife blood. These were done around quiet pools of water and other reflective surfaces, apparently to make this stepping sideways easier for the shamans, allowing them to peer into the spirit wilds. Our frenzies are usually a fight or flight response, but all of that humming, that passion, that tribal dance, it almost induced one. I went into a form of trance. This ritual was to give me visions of truth, temporarily while under its effects, allowing me to partially see through the gauntlet into the spirit wilds, a barrier that separates the material world. Whether these visions were just induced hallucinations from the ritual or the strange concoction that they gave me, I cannot say. But such ingredients and drugs should not have any effect on an undead body. So if it was actual transcendence, how incredible. Interjoining realities, parallel dimensions, occupying the same physical space. From what I've been told, this penumbra is not stable like the material world that we live upon. It is fluid, constantly changing. Some realities or realms only existing for a brief few fractions of a second. Reflections of how the world could, may, or should have been, mirrors into the past. All possibilities of Earth played out, coming in and out of existence, but none of them remain solid, tangible. I also got the chance to look through a veil beyond the shroud. It felt like a different kind of barrier, a wall of pure fear and pain. I saw images of what the Injuns call the Dark Kingdom of Flint and the Flayed Lands, and strange animal spirits, ephemeral entities, phantasms that came in and out of existence. Firewater? No? Suit yourself. Mix it with a little blood. It helps. There is a fresh kill over there. I made just for you. We Outlanders are not known for many creature comforts. But seeing as you came all this way out to visit me, I have spared no expense for you. I can't have you sleeping on the cave floor. Now I realize, if I had the choice to become or go back to being human, mortal again, I wouldn't. My own life has been, so far, profound. I have seen glimpses of the umbral worlds cast by lunar light and the celestial heavens through the waterfalls of Zion Canyon. I have seen black kestrels diving for prey amidst raging savanna fires in Africa. This world is frighteningly beautiful, and I wouldn't have bared witness to such evocative experience if I hadn't have become undead. I was thrilled to explore a world without fear of disease, empowered to go places and reach locales that I never would have dreamt of visiting in my breathing days. Even so, not being able to retract these feral claws has caused me a tremendous amount of difficulty. I want to be able to sit with the mortals, laugh and joke about the latest yarn, to play Texas Hold'em. I want to feel something from this firewater. Where would I be without these feral claws that my body has adapted for me? Probably enjoying sipping drinks with the high clans. I still have much of my human way of thinking remaining, and I know already that being very human is not the same as being good. You have to have a very high opinion of the human species to think that. In fact, the more I see of humans, the more I prefer of animals. Sorry, I often digress on the frustrations of human self-importance. The cruelty and unfairness of this world gets to me. We Gangrel are all about tough love. That's how we were born. That's how we were made. but our supernatural fortitude cannot hope to compete with the toughness that you can get from fighting wassail. Take all of that suffering and pain and keep moving forward. Take all of that horror and darkness and keep moving forward, kindred. I have discovered another phenomenon. How best to put this? To fully understand what I have experienced, let me cast your memory back once more to my younger Victorian nights.
Now that you are more well versed in kindred functionality, you may be wondering how I can avoid Rötschreck, red fear, holding a lantern. You have seen me openly round campfires as well, etc. Yes, it is an open flame, but one of the first things, one of the only things that can destroy you, but it is a simple fear, primal, instinctual, one that can be mastered. It's all about thought. Another tip for you, Dark Walker. Even though that we have to lurk in the dark, light a candle for yourself every night. Build that courage, that self-control. It's fire, yes, but it's controlled, constrained, just like you when you feed. We pretend not to be afraid of things ourselves, but the reality of our situation is worse than any of those penny dreadfuls or novels written by hack writers. The truth is grim. We are a paradoxical wrongness, dead flesh with an everlasting craving for life, a struggle never seen under gaslight, the barren smiles, the arid hunger, the penitent distress of our stripped humanity raging across every kindred soul. We are not beautiful or romantic, we are not life-giving, good or evil, we are other. And we grow more alien with each passing year. No good can come from being with us for company, not worth the risk of insight. We will drain them one way or another, and we will kill them eventually, whether we want to or not. I do not hold bitterness, no hate. We are not better than them, but we are somewhat radically different. And to soothe or smother that acknowledgement, such harshness with other beliefs, is to invite further despair. Plenty of them I do despise, to even violently dislike. Yet even they do not deserve this cruel fate. Regardless, we hold the greatest contempt for ourselves and our cousins in other kindred clans. They say death is the great unifier. How wrong they were. Even more perturbing to find out that vampiric immortals exist is finding out that we do not all get along. We differ in how we should unlive, how to feed, and our place in the world. I am usually outcast from the highest gatherings, the Elysiums, the secret gentlemen's clubs, and to an extent I can even understand their point of view on me. It is not malice, or it is more utilitarian how these This is how all these old immortals think. Long-term stability. No matter how intelligent or capable I am, even if I was the greatest example of probidity, to them I am Volcod, a lesser primitive blood, and the curse of my forefathers will eventually take over me, transforming my body into a bestial, monstrous masquerade breach, a violation, a pariah to all mortal populace. Back in my younger Victorian nights, it was just after I'd been disowned by my family. I was quite the lost soul. Distraught, I entered my old church. I felt no sanctity, holy water didn't burn, just felt like old dirty water in a bowl. I have learned these lessons, kindred. It is something that you should never, ever do. Never let your former mortal passions take hold of you. Let go your mortal bonds. It only fuels the fire for the beast. I grabbed the priest by the scruff of the neck. If he wasn't shaking already, he certainly was then. I said, "Why? Why, Father Barry? Why did I deserve this? Was I not a good boy of the parish? Is it not the ultimate irony of the Eucharist? If the myths be true, why would the Creator just punish Cain? Why wouldn't he just punish Cain? Is the Creator so cruel? Some Creator would kill hundreds to prove a point? The same Creator that would flood the world? Because what? He didn't like how things were playing out? Start again, afresh? Committing mass genocide? What about all the stillborn babies? Did you need that sugarcoat of Old Testament despair? Oh, God loves you again. Oh, God's changed his mind. Is there a place in heaven for us now? What about all those that weren't part of the new covenant before this new covenant was formed? And what about me? Is God not omnipotent? Why can the accursed blood be passed on? Like some sort of inherited guilt, the concept of original sin, condemning hundreds of otherwise innocent people to the same damned fate. Answer me! I want answers! Of course, they could give no answers, because there are no answers.
I wanted to press on his skull until it caved in. I wanted to sink my claws and feel them after they grow to puncture into the soft, wet, spongy texture of his lungs. The beast took over me.
I almost killed him. At that moment, another member of the clergy came in. I didn't even realize he was there. He held up a crucifix. The power of the Almighty compels you. I was pushed away like I wanted to run. To get as far away from that place as I could. That unnerved me to no end. And I'm sure, no doubt, it bolstered the priest's faith. I'm not willing to accept that undead existence is some form of awful biblical punishment. The first of us was some sort of homicidal farmer. Everyone is entitled to their beliefs. But religion was part of my mortal life. That life is over. But since kindred are largely humans with amplified feelings, they will often come with human failings and virtues. And there are many kindred, in my opinion, that hold ridiculous religions, even more so after undeath becomes a factor, and some created through intense amounts of indoctrination and brainwashing from immortal elders, most of which fall apart with some critical thinking. But that's what these elders do. They abuse and manipulate their childer. Why go to the effort of putting them in chains when they can put themselves in metaphorical chains instead? Someone once said to me, even though the kindred can have the best intentions, deep down they know that they are damned. Well, when I don't let my lingering human feelings of loss drag me down, I do not always agree. There is nothing set in stone to say that we are cursed, nothing to say that we are either cursed by God or blessed by Cain, or just another form of existence, functional existence after death.
I have changed so much since then. How much more does unlife and the beast threaten to take from me? Our humanity dwindling, kindred society's last halcyon age. Ha! Yes, I pronounced it correctly. God, wonders never cease. About time, eh? We unlive and learn. To think, I still used to style my hair back then, or tried to style my hair back then. My hair is like a wild animal. Can't be tamed, it won't behave, goes wherever it wants. I don't even bother anymore. Trust me, kindred, the longer you unlive, the less meaning your life will have. Try to forget you're dead. Try to remember that you once had beliefs. Anyway, that faith that warded me off. I have heard kindred being warded off by the Star of David, or repelled by the Hindu yantra. When I was trekking through Zion and Salt Lake, I stopped by Coventry. You know, those big walled off villages of the Latter-day Saints. Gunmen posted on every corner. They had initiation tests to even enter. Kept apparently to keep undesirables out, apparently. I didn't think I'd pass, so I contemplated jumping over the wall to get in, but I thought better of that as well. They would have called out a stranger straight away. This huge fella came out, big Abraham trim strap. He had a real fire in his eyes, and he took out this book, and I actually felt warded off. This radius of uncomfort came from that direction. It was like a sensory overload. The way the Tremere explained it to me before we had our falling out is that it's more about belief than some divine intervention. The whole world around us is formed by our perceptions, our will. Any religious symbols will work if a mortal has incredibly strong conviction and belief, true faith. It's one of the few actual powers mortals have, called noumena. It's rarer nowadays, as the religious zeal has died with the scientific age. But some mortals believe so much that they can actualize their will and actually ward off the undead. But if there is even a sliver of agnosticism, any doubt whatsoever, it will not work. If a mortal had any real faith, it dies when they become one of us. None of us have it. Our belief system, whatever it may have been, has become shaken. We've seen too much. We question what we thought we knew in light of this new state of undeath. So I suppose these religious symbols, like the cross, must act as some sort of centering point, like a lightning rod for their beliefs, allowing mortals to channel their will more effectively. The Blood Warlocks consider this a sort of hedge magic on the fence of true sorcery. If they believe hard enough, these mortals, it will actually happen. This is also affected though by the wills of those surrounding. If they don't believe it, it won't happen. It's called the paradox effect. The Tremere and those immortals with thaumaturgy have true sorcery. They can concentrate their willpower within their vitae, making their power much more effective and solid. All magic, and I use that term very loosely, as I've said in it before, any advanced technology or knowledge that is not truly understood cannot truly be indistinguished from magic, and it is simply just another word for what is beyond most. But this magic is just an exercise of sheer will, fueled and bolstered supernaturally by vampiric vitae. It's the same principles with the more primitive forms of blood magic that I can use, and the vampiric disciplines as well, which are like a form of static magic, which actualizes and changes reality down structured lines and routes the clan blood is familiar with, and therefore can be used instantly. Blood sorcery is just the pinnacle of what kindred can achieve. If reality is a film of existence, then the disciplines are like treading down the well-worn routes of the fabric of the universe. It flows easier and offers less resistance. Thaumaturgy is just the highest extent of the use of this will to warp and change reality around us, true understanding of the blood, and therefore the transmutation properties that it can unleash. It is dynamic magic, something that is beyond most of our gifts. It is beyond mine. On a large scale, the duality of this paradox effect is fascinating. The immortals, with all of their power, we are not all powerful, for we are fighting against millions of gallons of disbelief of the mass of humanity. If people knew of our existence, apparently we could do anything, but we have to hide. And people don't believe in us, and we go to painstaking steps to surreptitiously enforce this, actively encouraging that disbelief. So our powers are limited by our own will and by the will of everyone around us. But as our will and understanding grows, so over time too does our discipline power that we can exert. All Gangrel are influenced on some instinctual level by a wanderlust. I've become a rational explorer, and I hope my discoveries have been proving useful, or at least interesting to you. They certainly have been for me. But if I think that way, that's the question, isn't it? Why do I involve myself with all these tribal rituals? It is as simple as I feel obligated to participate. Because I respect their culture and their way of life. We Gangrel can integrate with these tribal cultures much better than we can with mainstream society. Our only comfort, the company of nature and those isolated tribes, innocent of ambition, decadence. The Native American shamans also tried to explain to me why animals cannot be brought across. I think he was actually talking to me about undeath, being sired. They are knowledgeable indeed then, more so than I thought. They think that it is due to the animals of this world having gnosis, their connection to nature, an attunement to the world, that man has lost this connection to all things. This could explain why other creatures cannot be sired and given the embrace into undeath, as if the undead state is unnatural and takes a being less part of nature to transform into one of the eternal Darkwalkers. But that can't be right, because through the beast within, I feel closer to animals and nature than I ever had been when I was alive. More contradictions. And we have all heard the rumours and pious proclamations of Golconda, a spiritual state of being for our kind, of purity, that we can ascend above our natures, be free of the beast, and even become human again and walk in the light once more. Purity. Purity. Where do they get these notions? They say the road to Golconda is through the reconnecting fully with one's former humanity, and more so than you even did in life. Contrary to this, if you have heard the tales of beings like Menelaus, a kindred elder who was supposed to have been present at the legendary Carthage of Bruja legend, who moved to the Americas to live among the Pueblo, the Potawatomi, and other native tribes. Apparently he achieved the highest levels of conscience, the highest levels of self-control. He never frenzied once in over 1,000 years. Do you know how impossible that must be, kindred? It's like living your own life with a bullet constantly caught in the chamber. He reached the highest level connection to humanity possible for a kindred, apparently. From what I have seen, that is almost an impossible feat. To maintain that highest level of humanity, you must do no harm to a human being. That includes feeding from a human being, so he must have fed solely off of animals. To reach that highest level of humanity, you cannot even have selfish thoughts. No selfish thoughts. It is complete selflessness. But yet, despite all of that, he never achieved Golconda. I wish I could have had the insight of meeting him. Unfortunately, I heard he met final death during the Battle of Fort Dearborn, fighting for the natives. Golconda is a myth, nothing more. Others say that Golconda isn't especially about how you treat humans, but more about your inner self, a mastery of the beast, an inner balance. That the concept of eudaimonia is similar to the path of Golconda, of self-wellness and flourishing, but for kindred. It seems a lot of these goals are what the various paths of enlightenment, the observations and preconceptions of philosophies of kindred that have come before us, are trying to achieve, that are followed by some of the Sabbat and the independent clans, but in a decidedly inhuman way. Other kindred refer to themselves as immortals, but it is not really immortality. Not quite. It is what we have. It is sustained death. A forever death. But during the Victorian age, all of these new scientific innovations, the alchemical processes that were being developed, with all of this alchemy, some of the kindred actually believed that they could create some sort of concoction that could actually cure us. You can't cure being dead. Well, that's the point, isn't it? There's so much more to this world than humans. There's so much more to life than focusing on what we eat or what we were. Do we rally against what we are as a curse, or do we try to make something out of our newfound existence? When we slumber, we are truly dead corpses. We should feel nothing but the blackness of oblivion. But when I hunger, I sometimes dream like the beast is still awake. It stirs and tries to tempt me. I had dreams recently of being chased by mobs and lawmen. I was forced to kill all of them when they came at me just to survive. That I shot a woman with a griswold through the roof of her mouth, and I drank deep of the blood that poured out. But they were just dreams. But if we could just stop focusing on the hunger. Blood is a necessity for us to function, sure. But there is so much more to the kindred than just blood. But a lot of these things are still a factor for me. I tend to be very selective with my human feedings, as you know. But I still intend to look more at these paths of enlightenment, even if that means spending more time in Sabbat territory. The strangest thing I found with most of these Sabbat I saw is that even though they all follow different paths, most of them did not squabble or fight openly. As if they acknowledge that all are free to follow their own path, and there is no decidedly correct or right path. Each free to go their own way. Or maybe it's just the politics and sect values that keep them in line. I discovered this lost tribe while trekking from the State Plains of Texas, hunting buffalo with Vernon Shafto and this gritty old soldier called Rooster Cogburn. They saw me with all my Injun get-up. They found a great amusement with calling me a flathead. I mean, yes, the Salish people did consider me some sort of guardian spirit, but it's incredibly rude. Damn those two. We were hunting conservatively, sustainably. Unfortunate that most in America have not learned this conserved, sustainable hunting. Big shaggies, almost all gone now. It's a damn shame. Damn shame. My understanding of the Umbra and the Pass is still rudimentary, but it has opened my eyes, and I have immortality to discover more. I've watched the stars burn bright and sure, and then with a flash disappear. And still, I am the one that endures.